Hey everybody, Kevin Deal here, and on today's episode, I am going to take you through my process for developing 120 color film using the Cinestill CS41 kit. So welcome to today's episode. As I said, I'm going to show you how to use the Cinestill CS41 kit to develop 120 color film. You can develop 35mm film with this as well. I just happen to mainly be a medium format shooter, so we're going to focus on 120 film today, but the instructions are pretty much the exact same. It's just the amount of film rolls and the amount of liquid you'll be using. You can refer to the manual, which can be found online. I'll leave a link in the description below. In general, I do follow the instructions that Cinestill gives you, but a lot of us film developers tend to tweak things here and there. They may tweak a temperature, we may tweak the amount of agitations we do, and I've done that over time. I'm just going to show you my process. You can decide whether or not you like the pictures, whether or not it works for you, but it's still going to be generally close to what Cinestill recommends in the first place. Now, the Cinestill kit is a liquid kit. I'm not a big fan of mixing up powder chemicals. I just want to dump this stuff into 1-liter bottles and start going. Due to the length of this video, almost being 30 minutes, I'm not going to show you how to mix the chemicals. I think that's better served as another video. There's already other videos out there. If you want me to do a video showing this, tell me in the comments below. So I want to be clear with this video that this is intended for beginners. If you're looking for the 5-minute video, the really quick and dirty, this is not that video. If you're experienced, this probably isn't that video either because you probably already know how to do this. This is intended for beginners who are just getting into developing film. Film is starting to take off. It's kind of like vinyl and music. People are getting back into it. So there's a lot of interest. So I just wanted to make a video, show you how I do things. The reason why this isn't the 5-minute quick and dirty video is because there's a lot of moving parts during the development process where you have to time things. And if you skip a step, you may end up impacting the film in a negative way. So with the rising popularity of film, especially medium format film, and then you couple that with the fact that there's supply chain shortages at the moment, it's a perfect storm for rising costs. Not to mention the fact that at my lab, they charge you $10 to develop the film. Medium format color film can range anywhere from $10 to $15 a roll, and you only get 10 to 16 shots depending on the format you shoot in. That's a lot of cost per shot. To buy the film and pay others to develop your film, it could cost upwards of $30 just for one roll of film. Developing it yourself saves quite a bit of money. It'll take the price of developing it from like $10 to roughly $2 to $2.50 a roll. And then there's the time factor. If you send it off to a lab, you might not see the film for 3 weeks. If you do it yourself, you can see it in about an hour. All right, so today we're gonna be developing some Kodak Portra 160, which is some good stuff. The very first step I do is I put on gloves. And the reason I put on gloves is because A, I don't want to get my fingerprints on the film, and B, I don't want to get the chemicals on my hands. I'm not necessarily like worried that something bad is going to happen to me, but you know, you could get an allergy or something like that. So I figured if you got gloves, why not use them? I went to my local brew supply store for beer and found these 1,000 milliliter or 1 liter bottles, which were like $4 for 4 or something like that. It was pretty cheap. And so I like these because they are the darker glass. They maintain the chemicals better. They don't let in the sunlight. And so I have one for developer, I have one for BLIX, and then I have another for stabilizer, although I don't use the stabilizer because I use Kodak Photo Flow instead, which we'll get into a little bit later. As I mentioned, I'm using the 1 liter kit, therefore I bought a 1 liter tank. So let's talk about how to put these reels together. First of all, you can see that there's like these little notches on the reels, and then there's another part on the inside of this. I don't know if you can see it well or not, but you basically just need to line it up in a way to where it catches, and then I move it until it snaps. It should also be noted that your reels can be different sizes based on the notches. When it's at its widest, that's for 120 film. That's what we're doing today. When it's at its smallest, that's for 35mm, which we're not doing today.
One pro tip that you want to take into consideration, you want to get these reels at the right size before you put them in your dark bag, because these notches are really hard to feel out and you really don't want to try to make it go from 35 to 120 size in the dark.
Another thing that comes with the tank is this little agitator stick. However, you don't need the agitator stick in your dark bag. I just tend to leave it near my sink because the next time I need it, when I need to stir and agitate, is while I'm at the sink. Other things you're gonna need, have a dark bag right here. The cool thing about the dark bag, it zips open, you can put all your stuff in, and then it also Velcros on top of that, so it's like double the protection. When I'm mixing chemicals, I tend to use an apron. Other things that you're going to need while you're developing is I would recommend clothespins. I also have 2 funnels, one labeled Color Developer and one labeled Color BLIX. Another thing you're gonna need is a thermometer.
All right, so here's a pro tip. Before you load everything into your bag, onto your reels, into your tank, go ahead and start your sous vide bath. That way, all your chemicals can get up to temperature, and they'll finish right around the time you're done loading all your film. I use a Nova sous vide machine. Cinestill makes one. I'll put the links in the description below.
So let's make our preparations for how we get everything into the bag. So the first step I take is 120 film actually comes with these little tabs on it. I like to remove the tabs before I put them in the bag because it's just one less step I have to do in the dark. It's kind of hard to feel these things out, especially since I wear gloves. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the tabs and then toss it in the bag. Now, one thing you wanna also keep in mind with 120 film is when you do take those tabs off, make sure that you keep this wound tight because it can unravel. And if it does unravel, then you can let light in, and we don't want light leaks. Light leaks are bad. For the next step, we're gonna go ahead and put the reels in the bag. Now we're gonna put the tank in. We're gonna put the column. We're gonna put this in, put the cap in, and we're gonna put the center column in. And that's it, so we're gonna zip it up.
So I'm gonna show you how I change a roll of film. Now I usually do this with gloves, but since I'm sacrificing this color roll of film, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it without gloves. The thing I want you to take away from this is that there is backing paper that the film hugs onto. As you pull this away, you're gonna see the film start to separate from the backing paper. I unwind the film, and as I unwind the film, you can see the film and the backing paper start to separate from one another. And as I feel this out in the dark, you can see that they continue to separate as I move on. And just so you know, this is really flimsy and this is really firm. I know that sounds pretty obvious, but when you're doing this for the first time and you're trying to manage a million things in your head, you may accidentally think that this is the film and then try to put it on here and be like, man, it's not going on very easily because you grabbed the wrong thing. So just make sure you know that this is the firm end. Okay, and as you pull it and you pull it, you just keep going, you just keep going. And then you end up making it to the end. And on the end, there's actually tape. And of course, remember, you're gonna have to do all this in the dark. So you've got this piece of tape on here, and then you just pull. Inside the bag, you just move the backing paper off to the side. Now, I don't recommend that you try to just put this guy on the reel. What I do is I grab it, crease it, and then just flatten it like that. The reason why you want to fold this back and put pressure on it and flatten it out like that is because if you just have tape sticking out, it can wrap up on itself and stick to the film. And then you're going to have this gigantic spot where the tape was, where the developer didn't actually develop anything, which sucks. Another reason why you want to pull this back, other than not having it stick onto that, is because it's just easier to feed through on your reel.
As you can see, there are these little catches right here and a bead. This is how it feeds through. Now, there is a smaller tab right here, and you want to make sure that when you're doing this in a dark bag, that when you're trying to feel this with your fingers, that you understand that this is the smaller one and that this is the bigger one. You can feel with your finger that this one is gonna be a bigger tab, and that lets you know that the one that's a little bit bigger is the one that also has the bead on it. So I have a wasted roll of Delta 100 film. This is 120 film. I made a mistake with it. Pretty much any photographer who develops at home at one point or another has a roll of film that gets ruined. I just leave it around. Sometimes I'll just be watching TV on the couch, and it's good to practice so you can do this stuff in the dark. You need to make sure these guys are even with one another, because sometimes it can move forward or backward. You need to make sure that these two guys are lined up with one another. In order to put the film on the reel, all you gotta do, like I said, is find this tab right here that has the little bead on it. And then what you'll do, you'll insert it into, and now that it's beyond those beads, you'll see I can pull it like this. And then the other thing that I do, I take this part right here that's just hanging out, I straighten it out. And the reason why I straighten it out is because if it starts twisting, it can take this stuff off of its track. We don't want to take it off the track. So what I end up doing is I end up like rolling it like this. Then I turn it, then I put my fingers in the bottom like my fingers are a spool, just to kind of guide it. So my pinkies are in here to guide it. And then now you just and that's it. That's how you do it. Then you take the tank and you take the center column. You put this in the center column. You put that in the tank. Of course, if you had a second reel, you do the second reel the same way you did the first reel. Put that on the center column. Then you take this guy right here, which I think is like I think it's called like the column lock or something. You take the column lock and you turn him until he clicks. Then you take the cap and you can put the cap on. Now, you technically don't need the cap on to protect it from lights, but sometimes this thing pops open and that kind of worries me. So my general thought is if I'm not putting chemicals in it, leave the cap on. That way, just in case it does pop, you don't have anything to worry about. So now we're here, the chemicals are heating up. I have my thermometer, which is telling me that my room temperature is 72 degrees. One thing I like to do is shake up my developer and then take a reading just to see what we're at. So right now my developer is chilling at 97.7. So we're gonna give it a little bit of time, let it warm up. Okay, so my chemical bath is almost ready. Some things that we want to have close by. You need a color developer funnel. You need a color BLIX funnel, which I label because I don't want to cross-contaminate chemicals. This is also the point in which we use our agitator stick. I like to have Kodak Photo Flow, which I like to use instead of the color stabilizer, which is optional on the C41 kit. And then I have a squeegee, and also I have clothespins. So as I've already mentioned, I'm using this Cinestill CS41 2-bath kit. This produces 1 liter of chemicals. I already showed you the 1 liter bottles that I keep the chemicals in, and then I put them in 1 liter tanks. Now these 1 liter tanks, as I said, can take 2 rolls of 120 film. I believe it does 4 rolls of 35mm film. They do make these tanks in half-liter sizes, but to me it's just a lot easier to go 1 to 1, and then I don't have to do any math. I can just do 2 rolls of film at a time. All right, so let's see how our developer's doing. We're aiming for 102 degrees Fahrenheit or 39 degrees Celsius for those of you in the rest of the world. And it looks like we are actually at about 39.5. So I'm gonna let this cool down for just a second. We slightly overshot the temperature, but it'll drop 1 degree in a matter of just like a minute or so. Now that I'm pretty close to temperature, I can actually stop the sous vide machine. One thing I want to point out is that we're going to do 3.5 minutes of development. So this is a pretty fast process because you're gonna do 4 agitations per 30 seconds. And when you do your agitations, you're gonna turn it over and you're gonna let everything go to the bottom. Then you're going to turn it a little bit with your wrist and let it all the way to the bottom. Then you're gonna turn it again, turn it with your wrist, let it go all the way, then turn it, let it go all the way. You do that 4 times, and then when you're done, you just slam it like that, and that makes sure that you don't have any air bubbles that build up on the negatives. We're gonna do this for 3.5 minutes, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Okay, so it's just about time. We've just about hit temperature, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the cap of the tank slowly, because sometimes this pops out. Another thing I do is I just double check and make sure, I turn it clockwise and make sure that that bad boy is locked. Now, I'm going to shake up the developer because I want to get an average read of the temperature of the chemicals. Sometimes the liquid at the top is cooler than it is at the bottom. So I'm looking at this right now, I'm at 102.2 or 39, well, nope, I just hit 39 even. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on this. Rinse this off real quick. Now, we're going to get started. So I've got a cool little app on my phone, which I will give you the details on. It's actually this app is actually called Massive Development Chart. It's made for black and white film, so it's not necessarily perfect for color, but it gives me the timers that I need. So, all right, we're gonna get started. This is also an opportune time to grab your stirring stick or your agitator stick. And now we're gonna go. Also, make sure you label these, because if you accidentally pour in BLIX first, you're gonna destroy your rolls of film. Don't mix up your caps either. I label my caps as well. So, all right, it's in there. I'm gonna put this off to the side. I'm gonna start stirring it for the next 10 seconds or so. It's already in there. We're already about 20 seconds in. I'm gonna take you through this first 3 minutes and 30 seconds because the development process is so critical. So if you've done this before, you can skip this, but if this is your first time, I'm gonna do it all in real time. All right, so we stirred it. Now, I spend the next 30 seconds just making sure I get a really good seal with this cap. And the reason why is because you're gonna start agitating it, turning it upside down, and if you do that, you don't have a perfect seal, you're gonna start spilling developer everywhere. So I've got about 10 seconds left. Feeling pretty good about my seal. There's a little bit of developer in the sink that I'm just gonna rinse off real quick. Good, we're at 59, and we go. 1 agitation, turn, 2 agitations, turn, 3 agitations, turn, 4 agitations, turn. Now, little slam, so that way you get the air bubbles off. I'm gonna rinse my agitation stick and I'm gonna move it off to a paper towel, which I have on my counter. Now, we're gonna wait until we get to the 2-minute mark. I tend to like to work in between agitations. So I've got this developer right here. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my funnel because we're already less than 2 minutes away from needing to dump this in and reuse it. I like to be ahead of the game. That way I don't have to freak out and miss my timing up. So now we've got 3 seconds left. 1 agitation. There we go. Now we wait for another 45 seconds. I'll speed up the video to the final agitation, which starts at 3 minutes. All right, so we got 5 seconds left, and now we're gonna start our final agitation. Now, one thing I want to tell you about is when you open this up, there's a little bit of air pressure buildup and it sprays. So I'm going to start the water because I got 5 seconds until this is over. I'm going to start the water up. Now, a little bit of spray, nothing crazy. I'm going to take this bad boy off. Now we immediately need to put it back in the 1 liter bottle. Now, unlike with black and white film, where you have what's called a stop bath, you immediately go straight to the BLIX. So this is the developing. Now we need to preserve these negatives for a really long time, and that's what the BLIX process is gonna give us. What I do is I dump all of this in here, then I move this off to the side. I do a really quick rinse off of my funnel, just to make sure I don't have any chemicals on my funnel. Then I shake off my funnel, and then I put it on that paper towel. Now, I'm gonna put my cap back on my developer, put this away. I'm gonna leave the water running, and the reason why I'm gonna leave the water running is BLIX it causes massive stains, especially to white Corian sinks like I have. So we're gonna shake up this BLIX, and we are going to get it ready to go. I just wanna make sure that if any BLIX spills, it is caught by my water. So the BLIX process takes 8 minutes. I'm not gonna bore you and take you through the whole thing. I'll just take you through a couple of cycles. Now I noticed a little bit of water. I'm gonna start this up. There we go. Good to go. I'm going to do my agitation up until 30 seconds. And then when I get to 30 seconds, I got 2 things I wanna do. One is I'm gonna, actually while I'm doing this, there's a little bit of BLIX that got over here. I'm just gonna rinse it off. It always helps if you have one of these detachable head faucets that you can move around. So I'm gonna agitate this up to the 30-second mark. We've got 5 seconds left on this. And here we go. Now, I'm gonna rinse this bad boy off. We're done with this agitation stick. I'm gonna go put it back on that paper towel. Now, we are going to spend the next 15 to 20 seconds getting a really good seal on this, because you do not want this spilling in your sink. Bad things will happen. I'm gonna leave the water running until I've confirmed in this first cycle that there's no leaking. And we got 3, 2, 1, and we go. I'm not seeing any leaking, so it looks like I sealed this correctly. And now, same thing. We went ahead and slammed it, so we took care of the bubbles. I'm gonna just move the BLIX bottle over here, and while I'm thinking about it, I might as well put the funnel in, and this will take us through up until, I'm gonna take us through up until like the last minute. All right, so we're at about the 6-minute and 30-second mark. I wanna show you how I conclude BLIX, because I think it's very important. You wanna make sure you don't stain anything. There's a little bit of timing involved. You wanna make sure you clean up well. So we're at the 6-minute and 45-second mark. I'm just gonna show you my last minute and how I deal transitioning from the BLIX to the wash. So I'm about to start doing my agitation. I've been doing the same type of agitation on the minute, every minute, 4 agitations. Here we go. That's 7 minutes. So I did my 4, I slam it. Now, I'm gonna start the water. And the reason I'm gonna start the water is because when I open this up, the air pressure builds and it sprays BLIX everywhere. And I wanna make sure I immediately wash it out, because the longer I keep BLIX on this surface, the better the chance it has of staining. So we're gonna get this going. We're gonna open this up. We're gonna dump the BLIX into the bottle via the funnel. And so here we go. We got about 20 seconds before I need to begin this. I can actually open this up now. Oh yeah, a lot of spray this time. I'm just gonna start washing around it right now and just get on top of that, because I still got about 10 seconds left. There we go. And by the way, BLIX smells terrible. So, all right, we're at the 8-minute mark. Move this off to the side. Unlike development, if I leave it in there for a few seconds, I'm not worried about anything happening, like over BLIXing or anything. You don't have to worry about that. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and dump the BLIX in here. This stuff smells not great, but it is good to reuse. Now that I've gotten all of my BLIX in here, the next thing I'm gonna do with this white sink is just look for places that I can wash BLIX off. So I'm gonna wash BLIX off here. I got a little here, I got a little on the back side, front of the sink. Now, I'm gonna wash out my funnel, not knock anything over. There we go. Washed all the BLIX off my funnel. Now I'm gonna put my funnel over on my paper towel. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my cap on my BLIX, and then I just tend to wash any remaining BLIX off of the bottle. I'm just gonna put the bottle back in the bath for a second. Now we can begin the process of actually washing the film and getting all the chemicals off. So start like this. I also like to go around the edges because water actually gets through here as well, and BLIX builds up on those threads. So I just do like my initial wash. I'll go around. Then at this point, I'm also using close to room temperature water. Once it fills up, I seal it, and then I do about 10 agitations. So 10. Okay, so now when I dump this, you're gonna see like this iron color, and that's actually all the BLIX washing out. Pretty dark. And we're gonna keep washing. I do this about 6 times. And you just wash it until it dumps clear. When you stop seeing colors, that means that all the chemicals are off and you're good to go. All right, so it was washing clean. So now we can actually take the top off. There we go. Take this top and just move it off to that paper towel. Now we're gonna put some Kodak Photo Flow in there. Really don't need more than a drop. I tend to accidentally put too much in. There we go, I put way too much in. An optional thing, some people let it just dry on its own. I use a squeegee. So now we're gonna go ahead and let this bad boy fill up. And now, hopefully, the payoff. Let's see what we got. Those look like negatives to me. I'm gonna let it drip dry. The first frame is always on the side with the tape. That's it. So that's how we develop film. And I will show you the results of this Kodak Portra 160 when I'm done scanning them. When I'm done, I like to use a paper towel to dry off all my materials and then use another couple paper towels stacked up to dry everything overnight. I also use Clorox wipes to wipe down the sink, wipe down the faucet, and anything that may have come in contact with the chemicals. Let's take a look at the 2 rolls of film we developed today, as well as the other rolls of film we've developed with this exact same batch of chemicals. Thanks for watching my video today. I hope it was educational for some of you. If you like what you saw, please click the like and subscribe button below. I really do appreciate your support. This is a new channel. It's growing. I'm very grateful for all of you who like and comment. I am looking at your comments. I am taking your comments into considerations for future episodes. So if there's something that you want to see, something that I didn't cover in this episode, maybe something that you want me to elaborate on, put it in the comments below. I appreciate the support. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.